I guess because they probably won't let us set up there. Hey! It's not on the agenda?
It's not? No. It's not?
Did you learn anything in school? Not on the agenda.
Call our meeting to order and invite Pastor Kirk Horton of World Life Church to lead us in invocation this evening.
Thank you, Mayor, City Councilman, women, and servants of the city and workers. Thank you for the opportunity to come here and just bless the work that you do. Some of you work for little pay, some work for more pay, but I pray that your reward is more significant from heaven because of the calling that's on your lives. So let's go to the Lord in prayer. Father, I thank you that there's no person or place on planet Earth that you don't have a vision and a calling to be a part of what it is that you've created man to do. So I thank you, Lord, that you always give provision where your vision is found. And Lord, that leads to a manifestation of the natural. And we see that happening in our city, Lord. Father, I pray that that would continue, that you would bless these people that make decisions with just a continual cycle of new vision and provision and manifestation. Because Lord, every good work that you began, you were able to complete. So Father, I thank you for that. Thank you for the continual alignment that you would make, Lord, as these leaders make decisions on behalf of everyone in this city. And Father, you would shine down your favor and anointing and bless their decisions. They would always be in alignment with what your intent and your purposes are to do. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Let's go.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. One state, under God, one and indivisible.
No presentation this evening. Peggy's or any public comment? We move forward to the consent agenda. Before the council, do you have any questions or discussion? If so, what's the pleasure of the council?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes 7-0.
Yes, Mayor and Council. On May the 13th, Encore Delivery filed a proposed rate increase of 4.5% on the electric utility here in our community. The city has the opportunity to either approve the rate increase, suspend the rate increase effective date of 90 days, or take final action to deny the rate increase prior to the effective date of June 17, 2022. Encore has recommended that cities having original jurisdiction in such cases deny the rate increase, thereby effectively sending the case to the Public Utility Commission in Austin for review and final disposition. We would concur that this is the appropriate action for us to take. We have neither the staff resources nor the expertise to effectively evaluate such a rate increase request. Likewise, this approach of having the rate increase request determined at the PUC level allows Encore to have a unified statewide rate rather than varying rates in different communities. As such, it's recommended that the enclosed ordinance be adopted, denying the proposed rating, change in rates as requested by Encore. You'll also find in your packet a petition and a statement of intent to engage in this, along with a notice of typographical error for one of the previous correspondence. Pat Ann Wilson with Encore Area Manager is here tonight to answer your questions or address this matter.
Diane, do you have any comment without the direction of the council?
No, Dean covered it very well as far as, overall of the rate, review. This is the first, full rate review we've had in 5 years. We have done incremental rate increases on one of the factors that's part of the rate. But, so it's been 5 years since we've gone to the PUC with a full rate review.
Any questions from the council?
No question. I've not been involved in a rate case with electric utility, but I have been pretty heavily involved in rate cases with natural gas, and certainly our city certainly doesn't have the staff to really be involved, make a very good determination. So I agree. I think the appropriate action for us is to deny it and let it go to the PUC.
Well, there will be a lot of interveners at the PUC, working on behalf of all the cities that we serve, so.
I'm sure there will be.
What's the pleasure of the council? I move we approve the ordinance denying the proposed change in rates for Encore.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
Item number 11, consider and take appropriate action and conduct a public hearing on an ordinance regarding the rezone of the east portion of the 4.455 acres out of abstract 962 TR 9 DL Pearson FM 1821 is recorded in volume 680, page 741 deed records, Pelican County, Texas, to be changed from HI, heavy industrial, to a C, commercial district. We'll open this public hearing at 6:07. Is there anyone present that wishes to speak on this?
Is that the Kessler?
Yes, it is. Come forward.
If you will, proceed with the podium, state your name.
My name's Mark Fisher. I represent Tim Kessler Foundation. Basically, if you recall the Atwood project, there was a zoning issue where it was residential and it was also commercial. And basically, it's the same thing. This is a piece of property that is platted half commercial and half industrial. And then the parcel behind that, it goes to Industrial Parkway where the fire station is actually industrial. So the request we have is to make that parcel whole commercial, which is on 1821 across the street from Tractor Supply, as it should be, in our opinion. And then the back parcel should be industrial, going back to Industrial Parkway, right coming to the fire station.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
David, are you about to make comments or?
No, I'm just waiting.
Oh, okay.
I'm just waiting.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I assumed that front part was already commercial, I didn't realize it was, heavy industrial, and it makes sense to get that, rezoned.
The issue is that the bigger part of the property is heavy industrial and it extends over to where it should be commercial. This is a long time in coming. The property is not deep enough to really adequately have the property be served at its best and highest use. So really what you're really doing is taking a piece of that industrial property and putting it into this to make it all the 4.5 acres commercial, which will make a higher and better use. That's probably the reason why it hasn't, I would say that's the reason why it has not developed, because it's just not enough depth. But the staff recommends approval.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak?
I just have a question. Does that make a difference in their tax rate? The heavy industrial and commercial?
Well, I think so.
It has no impact on tax rate, it has to do with valuation.
Okay, I just didn't know if it was like.
Tax rates don't vary, tax rate's a tax rate. No, the tax, your tax rate's the same as everybody else's tax rate.
That would be the appraisal district's decision.
Okay.
All right, we'll close this public hearing at 6:10. Any further questions or discussions from the council? What's the pleasure?
Make a motion to pass an ordinance of the city of Mineral Wells, Texas, amending the city of Mineral Wells zoning ordinance, appendix B of the code of ordinances of the city, and amending the zoning map to change the zoning classification from HI, heavy industrial district, to commercial district of the east portion of 4.455 acres out of abstract number 962, TR9 DL, Pearson, Farm Road 1821, as recorded in volume 680, page 741, deed records, Falcon County, Texas, providing for the incorporation of premises, providing an amendment to the zoning ordinance and zoning map, providing development regulations applicable, providing a savings repealing clause, providing severability, describing a penalty not to exceed the sum of $2,000 for each offense, and a separate offense shall be deemed committed each day during or on which a violation occurs or continues, and providing for publication and an effective date.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes 7-0. Item number 12, consider and take appropriate action and conduct a public hearing regarding a replat of lots 30, 31, and 32 of block 12 of the Pasadena Heights addition to the city of Mineral Wells, Palawan County, Texas, according to the plat thereof recorded in volume 2, page 49 of the plat records of Palawan County, Texas. The lot 30R and 31R in order to gain access on Sam Houston Avenue in an MH manufactured home zone district. Open this public hearing at 6:12. Is there anyone present that wishes to speak on this item? No one is present. We close the public hearing at 6:12.
Staff recommends this. If you look at the map provided for you, you see that the property does not have access because there's really a non-existent alleyway. And so this makes the property higher and best use for development, which they'd like to do. We recommend approval.
Questions, comments, or discussion from the council?
I'll make a motion that we approve the replat as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes 7-0. Item number 13, consider and take appropriate action and conduct a public hearing on an ordinance for a specific use permit in order to operate a pawn shop as defined by the City of Mineral Wells zoning ordinance in a general retail zoned area located at 101 Southeast 17th Avenue, Mineral Wells, Palawan County, Texas. And we open this public hearing at 6:13. Is there anyone present that wishes to speak on this item?
My name's Mark Fisher, and basically, about 5 years ago, my goal to come here was have national tenants, whether it was T-Mobile Corporate, Little Caesar's Pizza, or others in town, Crown Dental, things like that. This is a pawn shop that has 60% merchandise, it has 40% loan fees, it has 1,500 pawn shops across 5 countries. It's, publicly traded on the stock exchange. It's national, it's not, it's based out of Fort Worth, Texas. And, that was one of my goals, to bring people here with quality tenants that can provide good service to the community, and also be credited tenants that will be around and take care of the property. So, this is my recommendation. Personally, they're wanting to go in the former Family Dollar site, it's 101 17th Avenue. And that's why I'm asking your permission to have a special, specific use permit.
What did you say the name of the company?
Well, on the stock exchange, it's First Cash.
First Cash.
And they're based out of Fort Worth, and this, they're gonna do DBA, doing business as a Cash American State of Texas. And they have them across the nation.
Is it pawn shop only, or do they provide short-term high interest loans?
They're 60%, over 60% merchandise. Inside there, they have a jewelry store, they sell different products. 40%, less than 40% of their products or income is out of what they call loan fees. The small loan fees. And I think in the, from an aspect of the community we have, I don't think it would be such a bad idea to have an area that would give small loan fees to help people in the neighborhood with the demographics that are in this town. I'll let.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on this item?
Thank you.
Close the public hearing at 6:16.
As Mr. Fisher stated, it doesn't matter if it's 10% is loan fees or a pawn shop, the whole property is classified as a pawn shop under state regulations. So I think most of you know that. This went, as you know, went before the Planning and Zoning Commission. They voted unanimously to recommend this. If this were in commercial, we wouldn't be here. So it just so happens that area is general retail instead of commercial. So we're recommending, the Planning and Zoning Commission is recommending approval of this.
Was it commercial, or would just be?
It wouldn't be an issue.
say one thing? As part of the requirement.
The public hearing is closed.
Public hearing's closed.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Alright, some pleasure of the council. I move we approve the special use permit for the pawn shop. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes 7-0. Item number 14, consider and take appropriate action and conduct a public hearing on an ordinance regarding a rezone from a dual commercial C and single-family residential SF6 zone property to a multifamily FF zone district in order to build multifamily dwelling units located at 201 Northeast Sixth Street, 201 Northeast Seventh Street, and Lot A, 100 by 100 Northeast corner, Block 9 of Wiggins Addition, Mineral Wells, Powhatan County, Texas. We open our public hearing at 6:19. Is there anyone present who wishes to speak on this item? We close our public hearing at 6:20.
This is a situation, you saw under backup material, a husband and wife have bought the property out of Aledo, Texas. They bought the house there facing Sixth Street. And part of the property is commercial, part of the property is residential. The thought on this is that you have commercial property in the front, and you got the side of the hill with some residential on it, that multifamily may be the better buffering use between the commercial and any residential. It's a very nice product. The planning commission was fairly excited about this, and it's in a good location on the side of the hill overlooking the city, and so it's another product that we don't have. You know, we talked about this before. I'll put my EDC hat on. We talked about the need for different housing products. And so the planning commission agreed that this was a good zoning change for this, and particularly for this type of product. And so the planning zoning commission voted unanimously, and staff to support this and to recommend it to you, and so did the staff. If you have any questions, let me know.
Are they gonna tear down the house?
No, that house they're gonna remodel because, which is good, because that has some real nice, I went into it, it has some real nice, I pulled up the carpet, some real nice wood in there. It's a well-built house, so they're gonna save that.
Can't read the signature here. I think this may have been someone I spoke with. And is the intent of this property to be Airbnb?
Yes, ma'am, that is mostly the intent for it to be Airbnb.
Questions or discussion from the council?
How'd you like one or two of these? More to go, man.
What's the pleasure of the council?
I'll make a motion that we approve the rezone as presented to us.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes 7-0. Item number 15, consider and take appropriate action and conduct a public hearing regarding a preliminary plat of a 0.502 acre tract of land out of the TDR County Survey, section number 13, block A, POB abstract number 701, Powhatan County, Texas, being all of that such tract of land conveyed to KMA Hotel in volume 2357, page 610, official plat records of Powhatan County, Texas. We open the public hearing at 6:23. Is there anyone that wishes to speak on this item?
think we're all familiar with this property, you know, out there where what used to be the old Rodney Inn, it has a sign out in front. This only relates to the property right in front of it. I know in your packet it shows, all the property that's only this acre, this 0.52 acres here, where he's planning on putting his offices and a small strip center. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this, voted unanimously to approve it, and we, as staff, concur. Recommend approval by the city council.
Questions or discussion from the council? Pleasure?
Make a motion, we approve the preliminary plat as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes 7-0. Item number 16, consider and take appropriate action and conduct a public hearing regarding a final plat of a subdivision of a 50.544 acres tract of land out of the TNVRR County Survey Section number 14, Block A, EOD, abstract number 988, Pelican County, Texas, to lots 1 to 216, blocks 8 through Q of the Wells Addition, Phase 1, to the city of Mineral Wells, Pelican County, Texas. And we open our public hearing at 6:25. Is there anyone present that wishes to speak on this item? All right, we close our public hearing at 6:25. Like when we get the final plats.
Amen to that. I think everybody knows how I feel about this one. We've been working on it for two plus years. We're finally here. Just want you to know, just so you know, the bids for phase 1 have been, received and they came in pretty good. So, we're ready to, I think we're all ready to rock and roll on this as quickly as possible. And so, of course, the Planning and Zoning Commission met, reviewed this, approved the final plat. And so the staff, I'm wearing both my EDC staff and my building official staff and Planning and Zoning staff, we wholeheartedly recommend this to you.
Absolutely. I only have one question. You know, when we first started talking about this, the home price, target, where has that fluctuated with the market and?
That is definitely fluctuating with the market, but I'll let Ms. Casper speak to that if she wishes. We had a long discussion about that on my drive up, yesterday, yes.
Unfortunately, the answer to your question is yes. The prices, in the beginning, we were going to try to keep some of the houses under, just under 200,000. With supply chain demand and price increases, although some of that, we're seeing some of it on the lumber side, we're probably looking at a beginning price range in the 220s now, up to the mid-3s. But one of my builders is here this evening, and they will do their best to provide affordable housing for Mineral Wells.
Just crazy as it sounds, it's very reasonable. The market as it is.
It's still a product that we desperately need here in Mineral Wells. I can tell you, we are just inundated with infill, but said before, infill residential development all across the city. And this is something that we really need to counterbalance with that. So, excuse me?
How many lots?
200, 216.
Okay.
Yeah, 216. Okay.
Any further questions or discussion from the council? Then start turning Bert. What's the pleasure?
Make a motion, we approve the final plat.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. I think that was our Item number 17, consider and take appropriate action and conduct a public hearing on a replat of 5.121 acres, lots 7 and 8, Pilgrim Estate addition to the extraterritorial jurisdiction, ETJ, of the city of Mineral Wells in Pelican County, Texas, according to the plat thereof recorded in volume 1, page 10B of the plat records, Pelican County, Texas, to lot 7R, lot 8R1, lot 8R2, lot 8R3, and lot 8R4, Pilgrim Estate in addition in the ETJ of the city of Mineral Wells, Pelican County, Texas.
Mayor and members of City Council, I promise next City Council is only gonna be one of these, not this many.
Thank you.
It's okay, you're very welcome.
You say that.
And, there's a lot going on. This is good. This is a very straightforward one. It's in the, obviously in the EPJ of the city of Mineral Wells. You do have, regulatory responsibility over this. This replat does take it to 1 acre lots. We were very careful in working with Mr. Patel on this because the surrounding lots, are acreage lots as well. And we said, we really made sure that it did not go below an acre apiece. And, we made it very clear at the planning and zoning hearing, we would not support anything less than that. So, P and Z, recommends approval of this, and so did the staff, unless you have any other questions.
I do have one question. So it's on Sartan Road,
Yes,
but then will he put another road, I guess, going?
yes,
Link?
yeah, it's a private drive.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
access easement.
Okay.
I think that probably took care of some of my question as well. I know there was some question about how he was gonna handle utility easement, and so is this, am I seeing this private drive is also a utility easement?
Yes, yes, sir, it is. And, the neighboring property owners were there, and we discussed, how we handle drainage and requirements there, as far as not allowing anything to flow on other people's property.
Questions or discussion from the council? If none, what's the pleasure?
Make a motion, we approve the replat as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes 7-0. Item number 18, consider and take appropriate action on presentation of fiscal year 2021 annual financial report audit as prepared by Carr, Riggs and Ingram LLC.
Good evening, Mayor. We have Vicki Dallas here from Carr, Riggs and Ingram, who performed our annual audit. You've all been presented with the financial statement and supplementary information. The hard copy in front of you, and I believe you received a soft copy. Mail, Vicki? Okay. But Ms. Dallas is here. Bobby Coe, who is our senior accounting manager, is also here. I'm sure she would be thrilled to answer any questions. And I'll leave it to my technical guru, Chief Dunn.
Like a remote control when we were kids, you send your kid up there.
I was too tall to get up.
Down.
Thank you, Chief Dunn.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council, thank you guys for having us here tonight. I'm here to present the financial statement audit of the city of Mineral Wells. As Jason said, my name is Vicki Dallas. I'm an audit manager with Carr, Riggs and Ingram. And so tonight we're gonna go over a couple of items. So we'll go over the audit timeline, the audit reports, a couple of financial statement highlights, and then a couple of value-added suggestions towards the end. So the timeline of the audit, so we signed the engagement letter, in May. We started planning in February. We were out here on site, the very end of February, the 1st of March, and so during March, we conducted, field work as well. We did deliver a draft of the financial statements on March 31st. We have dated the independent auditor's report, which is in your financial statements, May 31st, and then of course, we're here today doing the city council presentation. The auditor's report, really, the whole packet that we gave you, out of all of that, about 4 pages are ours. And so the first one is the independent auditor's report. And so this is really the opinion on the financial statements. And so the City of Mineral Wells this year has got an unmodified opinion, which is the best opinion available. And really what that states is it states that the financial statements are presented fairly in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. It also states that there are no audit areas in which an opinion could not be rendered. Now, please remember that our opinion is not absolute. If we gave you an absolute opinion, Jason and Bobby would run us off because I would have to come and test every transaction through the city. So this is just saying that the financial statements are materially correct. The second report that we issue is what we call the GAGAS report over internal controls over financial reporting and on compliance and other matters. So in that report, this report is really a negative opinion report. So we say the items that we tested, we noted no findings, and so that's great. So a couple of financial statement highlights. So we'll look at the statement of net position. So this is really the city's balance sheet item. So the assets, we're gonna look at a 5-year trend, and really the 5-year trend is pretty consistent with an increase in 2018 of about $10 million, and that was just related to the GO bond that was taken out in 2018. You'll see that trend continues in the liabilities where we show an increase in 2018 again due to that GO bond. And then the net position of the city has really remained pretty consistent over that same 5-year trend. So you can see here on the top is the total assets. Again, they've remained pretty consistent. The red line is your capital assets. The blue line there towards the bottom is your restricted cash and restricted investments. And then the bottom line is your unrestricted cash and investments. So this is your total liabilities. So you can see that the top darker blue line is your total liabilities. So you can see they've remained fairly consistent, with the increase due to that GO bond in 18. The total debt is there in the middle, the little lighter blue line. So again, you can see that it spiked in 2018 and then it's remained pretty consistent. And then the bottom line is the yellow line is the total net pension liabilities. So that's really related to your pension items for the city employees. So you can see that one has remained fairly consistent over the last couple of years. The last slide that we have in the statement of net position is the total net position and then the unrestricted net position. So you can see there on the top is your total net position of the city, and then the bottom is the unrestricted net position. And the unrestricted net position is really what the city has control over. There's no restrictions on it, so you can really spend it as council sees fit for the city. So the next one that we're gonna look at is the statement of activities. So this is really the city's income statement. So we'll look at some revenues and some expenses as well. It's a little wordy just because we have 5 years, so we kind of like to take you back to the past and bring you to where we are today. So the 5-year trend has been increasing in revenues, and so in 2017 there was some sales of capital assets as well as some increases in charge for services. And then in 2018 we had an increase of charge for service, but we also had a decrease due to some sale of capital assets. And then in 2019, there was an increase in taxes of about $1 million. And then in 2020, there was some additional grant revenue of about $500,000. And then last year, there was an increase of about $160,000 for charges for service, as well as the $300,000 donation to the library. And expenses, again, your expenses has increased over the last 5 years, and so there were some increases in 2018 due to governmental activities and as well as the business type activities. And then in 2019, there were some increases of about 1.6 million in governmental activities. And then in 2020, there was some increases of about 700,000 in governmental activities, but there was also a decrease of about 1.8 million in business type activities. And then last year, there was a decrease of about 50,000 in governmental activities and about 360,000 in the business type activities. So you can see our chart here, the blue line there is your total revenues, and then the red line is your total expenses. So you can see beginning in 2019, the revenues and expenses were pretty consistent, and then 20 and 21, you guys cut your expenses down, but your revenues increased. So that's a great job on taking care of the city's money there. Okay, so now we're gonna look at the general fund. So the general fund is really the city's general operating fund, and really that's the one the city council has the most control over. So we always like to bring that in and kind of go over a couple of items with that one as well. So your revenues have really increased over the last 5 years. So you can see in 2017, there were some increases in charges for services as well as property taxes, and there was a decrease in fines. And then in 2018, there was an increase in property taxes again, or in taxes, and then there was a decrease in charges for services. And then in 2019, there was an increase in taxes again of about 429,000. And there was also an increase of about 350,000 in intergovernmental revenues, so that would be kind of grants and items such as that. And then in 2020, there was an increase of about 600,000 in taxes, 180,000 in charges for services, 210,000 in permits and fees, and an increase of about 730,000 in operating grants. The expenditures have also increased over the 5-year trend. So there was an increase in 2017 of about 750,000 for police and then fire and EMT. And then in 2018, there was a decrease of about 500,000 in police and fire and EMT expenditures. And then in 2019, there was a increase of about 800,000 in police and fire. And then there was an increase of 300,000 in general admin. And then in 2020, there was an increase of 900,000 in police and fire and EMT, and then 300,000 in capital outlay in 2020. And then in 2021, there was an increase of about 1.4 million in capital outlay expenditures. Cash has decreased over the 5 years just due to more expenditures than revenues. And then we'll look at the differences in your budgets versus your actual expenditures. So you can see here are your expenditures are the blue line there on the top, and your revenues are the green line there on the bottom. And then here are your total cash and investments for the, and again, this is strictly for the general fund. And then here is your budget. So you can see 2021 had a bit of an over expenditure. It was really due to the new ladder truck and the ambulance. And then I just wanted to point out that we show an unearned revenue, and it's something that's a little bit new this year. And this is based on the ARPA funds to the American Rescue Plan Act. And so it's showing about $1.8 million as a liability of an unearned revenue. And so what that really is that you guys have got the money, and the federal government really counts it as an advance for you because you haven't actually spent it on eligible expenditures yet. So right now we have it classified as a liability. As you guys spend that money, then that'll come out and that will move to fund balance. So a couple of value-added suggestions, we just always like to kind of point out a couple of items that we kind of see across the industry and a couple of items that we're kind of aware of that are coming up. So we always like to talk about information technology services. I know you guys outsource your IT department, but it's just always good to remember how important IT is to the city. And so I'm not qualified to do any IT work. I just really make sure that the system operates and gives us good financial statement numbers. I don't really test anything other than that. But we do have a group in Florida, if you're interested, that we could definitely contact and get you guys in contact with. It can do some penetration testing and some more in-depth IT test work if you would like. We always do like to say, if you don't use us, please use somebody and make sure that you guys are being protected and staying safe. I have lots of scary stories. I won't go into any of them today, but just make sure you're at least thinking about that and making sure that that IT is properly protected. The next one is the GASB 87 implementation. So this is really talking about leases. So in the past, we've classified leases as you can either capitalize them as capital or just regular leases where you're expensing that lease payment. And GASB 87 will come into play next year, and so you really don't have any more leases that you can just expense out. Everything becomes a right to use asset, so it has to be recognized on the financial statements as both an asset and a liability. So with that, there's gonna be probably a lot of setup, gathering all your leases and making sure that they all get recorded correctly. And so we're always available if that's something that you guys would like for us to have. We can definitely set up a consulting engagement and help out with that. The next one is just kind of talking about training. I know we talked about the ARPA funding is there. We're always available if you guys need help with, figuring out what to spend the ARPA money on, how to spend it, what's allowable, what's not allowable. I know Chief Dunn has done a really great job of getting some new grants, so if there's any questions or anything, we're always happy to provide any support that you guys might need. So with that, I just want to thank Jason and Bobby and really all the team members. I know I've talked to a lot of you guys, and so we really appreciate the team that you guys have. We've seen a lot of improvement over the last year, with everything, the new members that you guys have brought on. So we're grateful for the help that they've provided us. And thank you guys for your support, and we hope to continue to build on our relationships. That is all I have. If you guys have any questions for me, please feel free.
Vicki, I have a question.
Yes.
It's Cecilia.
Let me see who I'm talking to.
One thing that stood out to me was something at the very beginning of your presentation, and I just wanted to make sure I saw it right. It was the chart of the total debt. And it just seemed like a really high number, like $83 million or something. Could you break that down for us? Because I'm sure it includes the water district as
Yes,
well.
yes, that is correct. So if you actually look on in your financial statements, and if you look on page 68, so you can see the governmental activities. So those are really the city's activities, the general government activities. There's about 8.8 million there. And then if you turn the page to page number 75, there's about $24 million there, and you can see 18 million of it is the water districts, those revenue bonds.
So the 25 million on page 75.
Yes.
Where is the number on page 68?
On page 68, it is the 8.8 million. I'm sorry, it's on page 69. I'm sorry.
The total is about 33 million?
Yeah, it's somewhere around in there.
Okay, I thought that it was 8, and I thought, I thought that number was very, I thought that number was larger than it should be.
Yes, I I hear you on that. My eyes have changed, but yes, it is, so you can see here, it is 33.1 million. And again, out of that, the water district has they have about 18 million. Yes, that is correct. Yes.
Any other questions or discussion from the council? Any additional thoughts, Jason? Congratulations.
Thank Vicki. I'm sorry?
Congratulations.
I'd like to tell you all that I was busy and painstaking, but I have a fantastic staff that makes me look really good. So I'd like to point out all the members that work in the finance department as well as the rest of the city staff. Definitely could not have done it without them. Thank you.
I agree. My own comment, and it may be not possible, but thank you for the report, Vicki, I appreciate it very much. I would like the opportunity for you guys to discuss and negotiate if there's a possible way for us to change the timeline where we can get this audit a couple of months earlier this year. I don't know, it's already a pretty tight timeline, but I think maybe if your company is amenable and we can be in a position to get you what you need earlier, I would certainly love to see this audit earlier in my year.
Yes, sir. And Councilman Light, I think all parties involved understand that. And I just think this is a very difficult time, low on city staff. I know I believe during the middle of the audit, both Kathy and Bobby contracted COVID and were out. And I know Vicki and CRI is heavily understaffed as well. And look, I know, or believe me, and this next time around, I feel certain that we'll streamline the process.
And I'm not speaking specific to this year's audit, because typically this time of the year is when we have always received it.
Yes, sir.
But if we can move forward move up the timeline a little bit, it would be beneficial for all of us.
I think that we have a good working relationship with not only Vicki, but AJ and the rest of the staff at CRI, and I don't anticipate any issues moving forward.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Vicki.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, we need to, the action should be to accept the audit.
I'll make a motion to accept the audit for year ended September 30th, 2021 fiscal years.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion passes 7-0. Item number 19, consider and take appropriate action on a resolution to accept a monetary donation from the United Way of Pelican County.
Mayor, council, good evening. So the United Way Worldwide set up a grant opportunity for local United Way organizations to apply for grants. Our local United Way applied and received some money. United Way consulted with the county's emergency management coordinator, and she requested that the money be divvied up between municipalities in the county. So that, with that being said, and it's earmarked for emergency management services for some training, equipment, whatever it can be used in that regard. And so with that, the United Way is donating $800 to the city of Mineral Wells.
I'll just say it was my pleasure to be at the county commissioners court meeting earlier this month and receive that check on behalf of the city, so I'll make a motion that we graciously receive the donation.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes 7-0. Agenda item number 20, consider and take appropriate action on a resolution for the submission of a grant application to the U.S. Department of Justice Community-Oriented Policing Services, COPS, program for adequate staffing in the police department to continue our community policing efforts.
Mayor, Council, good evening. Thanks for allowing me to speak on behalf of the department. So, as was read, the COPS grant from the United States Department of Justice is open. We're requesting permission to make application to add 4 full-time police officers. The grant is designed to hire and rehire officers to help with the community and crime prevention efforts. There's a 4-year term on the grant, with 3 years being charged back to it. So the term is 3 years, and we have to keep them for another year. There's also a local match of 25%. So if we're awarded the 4 positions that we request, the total number is $1,169,072 minus the $701,904 from the government through the grant. So the total hit is around $467,000. Behind this, we still plan to, if we're awarded, fortunate enough to get this, we're still gonna use our Mineral Wells own homegrown program where we send people to the academy. They're very effective, and so that's something we're gonna stick with. And with this, they'll also be under contract, for the duration of that term, just as they are now, but it's a year longer. We've had conversations with downtown owners about the increased events coming over the next couple of years, and the need for additional staffing to be able to answer the call volume that's coming, with some significant events that we have on the horizon. So again, if we can get all 4, half of them, whatever, it'll greatly go towards answering these calls and keeping our community policing efforts throughout the community.
So this is similar to Safer Grant, I guess, for the
Yes, sir.
fire department.
Yes, sir.
Similar program.
Although our portion stays flat, instead of the safer, did we have to pay more and more every year?
Right.
Are we wrong?
Well, the one that we just applied for is 0 for 3 years, it's fully, paid for, but the one previous, it was 75, 75, 35, so yes, it.
Have we ever applied for this before, used this grant?
Yeah, it's been a number of years ago, probably back in the 2010 range. It's been a while. I think y'all might have got one, that's before my time, I think you might have got 1 or 2. This would have been about the time your full-service SRO was evolving and some of the community policing activities. So in the window between 2005 and 2010, I think y'all got one once upon a time.
So this application is for 4, but they may not fully fund 4.
Correct. Or 10%.
And Mayor, if I can, depending on the budget of the council, if you choose to approve this, we will need action on your approval of that resolution.
City council meeting.
Dean, do you have any other comments on just the need for it or anything like that? Or?
I mean, typically, the police are behind the curve, and you gotta give kudos to the fire department, they're generally ahead of us in that regard. Of course, they always win and save the slab and the catch, right? But, there will be, we've been very fortunate that our call volume and our staffing, the way we're configured, we haven't had any major incidents. But I do anticipate reasonably, as many of you have enjoyed the activities in downtown and the improvements, that we will need them, and this would, more likely than not, you'll have another chief of either decision, but this would be your minimum complement deployment for the downtown area would be these 4 officers. So, depending on if the grant comes in, it does kind of, with the 2 years it takes to realize those, and I've explained that to you before, it kind of does at least maybe help us keep up.
Okay. And then always it goes to budget-wise, I mean, how would we pay for it if we're fully funded, this?
Right, so, and just like the fire department safer grants, yeah, those grants are wonderful, right, and they fund a lot of the people, but, and tonight you approved the Wells development, and so that's gonna be new value added to the tax roll. And so, as downtown improves, and if you look ahead, which we don't have a crystal ball, but if the Baker comes online, as we all don't just anticipate, but know it will, about the 2025 timeline, then it should be able to be absorbed within the constructs of the budget. But I have charged the staff, as you're all aware, to be very mindful of the pie and the percentages, and as they bring on extra stuff, you gotta be able to sustain it. Getting it's one thing, right, but you gotta be able to sustain it, not just for our community, but, you know, for the people you're hiring, because it would be a terrible thing, and I've actually seen that, where it came from. You got some grants, and then things didn't happen, they had to let them go, so I think that's part of the reason the federal government actually makes you keep them on for a couple more years, but, I'm not concerned about, this one, nor the fire department. You're realizing the full effect of those 12 additional firefighters this year for the first time. So, and that's just part of living within our means, but with the good that's coming, I think we'll be all right.
Safer got us all the way, basically at a lower cost, all the way up to a point where we had enough, and then there was still a need for more. So I think it's a no-brainer to do this.
It is, and on the police law enforcement side. So, you know, there was a tragedy in Uvalde, Texas, and there's a lot of media talk about the state of our society and our Americas and our state. There very well may be some legislative push. We have a great partnership with the Mineral Wells ISD with respect to our school resource officer program. And, you know, it may be one of those unfunded mandates, but in this case, they're kind of funding it where we have to provide additional law enforcement presence. I don't know where that's gonna go. I don't think anybody has any solid answers, but, the timing and this opportunity for this particular COPS grant, it's pretty well positioned, and we should feel good about applying for it where we're at today.
The fire department might get to save cats, but the police officers have an association the public gets to participate in. And you hand out candy at Halloween.
We did.
We have movies too, we show movies.
Movies in the car,
And free donuts.
Step it
I'll
up.
provide that for the police
There,
department. We
fire
need
department.
firefighters.
Especially if they're adding staff. What's the pleasure?
Thanks, Darby. I'll make a motion, we approve the resolution.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes 7-0. Item number 21, future agenda items or requests by council members to be on the next agenda.
The, sidewalk adjustment on Northeast First Avenue, is that gonna be on our next agenda? The,
The one in the consent agenda for tonight?
It was in the over 500.
You come at the steps?
oh, was it in there?
Yes, sir, that was on your old 500, steps for the businesses, the, women's club and the old US Post Office and the driveway approach. that was cut off.
Somehow I missed that in that over 500.
Somebody write that down and take a picture.
I've got it. It's live. It's okay, Doyle.